think they had to be a little bit willing to take a risk, and not everybody wants to do that, especially when you're older. But some of them have had some Zoom experience with grandchildren or things like that as retired people, but a lot of them had not, I think. And some people were scared and wouldn't try it. So I'd say the ones that tried it, that were willing to take that risk, were one, happy to have the support, and two, happy to have classes again. Everybody wants to do it in person, but everybody also has agreed Zoom is far better than not getting it at all.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody was quite happy with the classes and glad to be connected again and out of their lonely time stuck at home like all of us were.
My experience has been just super positive in all the classes that I've taught, both the Zoom class and the in-person classes. The students are knowledgeable, they're interested, they're committed, they can be opinionated, which is great, and it really and there's really a pretty good free flow of energy and questions, I thought, in the classes. And at times, as I was preparing for either a particular segment or for the class itself, I would say to myself, now you have to remember, this is an OSHA class, and these people are going to be prepared. And it's nice teaching a course where when I talk about something that happened in the 1990s or a little earlier than that, that people know about it. And you can use those examples, whereas it's much harder to do with a contemporaneous group of students. So I've been very impressed with the quality of the students and their commitment, and the fact that it's very, very seldom do people not continue to, I mean, it's not very often that anyone even misses a class. So that shows their level of commitment and so forth. So I've been very, very pleased. And I would say that when we switched to Zoom, I believe there were one or two people who said Zoom was not for them, and they had been in classes of mine before. And I tried to reach out to one to try to convince him that this is really going to work and at least try it, but I couldn't convince him. So I think all in all, I did not notice a difference. We had good discussions, good questions, and the chat, in a way, made it somewhat easier for people to ask questions, because often they did not want to interrupt me, but they had a question related to it. And so chat, and then Julie would run through those chat messages for me at times. So I thought it worked very well, and I thought the students were just first rate.
My experience was that I couldn't really see too much difference between the face-to-face students and the online students, partly because so many of them were the same people that had continued with me onto the Zoom classes. I found them to be much easier to teach than undergraduates, if I may say that, because they are intelligent and they're enthusiastic and they're interested in learning. They're not here for credit, So they're making a choice, and they are in a sense voting for OLLI. They could be watching TV or doing something else with their time, and they've chosen us. So I really appreciate that enthusiasm on their part for the program. I would echo something that David was mentioning, and that is that in teaching my classes mainly on U.S. history, I'm surprised at how many times people would speak up and say, well, I was there during the event that I was talking about. I taught a class on the First World War, and I actually had a student speak up and say that I think it was his grandfather was the first prime minister of Hungary after Hungary split off into a separate country in the course of World War I. And you get such a diverse group of people in Fort Collins who've moved here from elsewhere, and they bring with them interesting backgrounds, interesting experiences that connect them with things we're talking about in class. And I think that makes it special. They've had more experiences than the typical 22-year-old student would have. And that makes it more interesting for the whole class.
Well, I had not taught the same class I'd only taught it on Zoom. I had not taught that particular class, the one I've done 3 times now on Zoom, or versions of it. So I hadn't taught that material in person. So I can't compare the groups so much, how the students might have been different. But I was just, in the ones that I had done in person and on Zoom, really just amazed by the level of curiosity and engagement, and people bringing, the knowledge base that people were bringing to the discussions of things that were happening, in the news, and asking questions about. And that kind of collaborativeness was very robust on Zoom, just as it might have been in a classroom. And I was also really surprised that no matter whether it was a snowy day or really nice weather, that everybody showed up every time for class. I thought, oh, today we're going to lose a bunch of people, but that didn't happen.